because here we are, 10 to 12 years roughly from retiring, and yeah, we need to kind of do a quick plan to get some sort of retirement plan in place. Okay, so I'm Kat. I'm in my 50's. So there's a bit to my story. I've been around a while, but I'm a remedial massage therapist, and my hubby of 33, nearly 34 years, he's a builder. We've got 3 grown kids who are all in their 20s, and they've pretty well all flown the nest, so we'd be empty nesters. We've always been self-employed, and that means really that our focus has always kind of been on just sort of minimizing income, not worrying too much about paying super, and not really thinking too long and hard about retirement, which has kind of crept up on us now because here we are, 10 to 12 years roughly from retiring, and yeah, we need to kind of do a quick plan to get some sort of retirement plan in place. So that's what do I do? What do I like doing? I love hanging out with my fam. I love my pets. I love my garden. We live up on the northern outskirts of Sydney, so lots of bush around. I love getting out in the bush with my old dog and just, yeah, I love nature. So
Beautiful.
that's me.
Thank you. We have so much in common. Do you know what, Kat, when you came to me, I was like, I really felt connected to your story because I grew up with parents who were self-employed as well, their
Yes.
entire lives. And in a similar situation to you, reached their 50s, no super, no wealth, don't own any real estate at all. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
But saw them work so hard in their jobs. And funnily enough, my father growing up is the same industry as you, as a radio masseur. So I was like, fuck me. I'm just like, relating to your story so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be cool also. We should do another topic today on what makes a successful relationship after 30,
Okay.
30 years,
Yeah.
33 years, did you say?
Yeah, look, lots of adventures, lots of ups and downs and twists and turns, and mostly very happily married.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't
Good
know.
on
We
you.
can, yeah.
So, Kat, can you tell me what was one of the reasons that you were drawn to me and you thought, I want to book in, I need Olivia?
Right. So I actually was introduced to you through another financial sort of education club where you very generously did like a 12-week course. And I'm a bit of a course junkie, so I like that sort of thing. And I thought, I'd love to learn a bit about residential property investing. And I just really liked your style. You were very down to earth. You just, passionate. You were you knew your stuff, and I thought, look, this girl, she's quite young, but gosh, she knows her stuff, and you've lived your experience, and you've done the hard yards, you've taught you, and I really yeah, was drawn to you too, and I thought you did teach quite a few really important things that kind of resonated for me.
Do you
Yeah,
remember which ones were?
yeah, I do. So one big one was you kind of kept mentioning that what we all tend to be doing in this sort of system that we're living in is swapping our time for money. And you're never going to get very far financially just by doing that because, it's a limited resource, our time. So you have to compound your wealth in some way using investment. So that was like, oh, yeah, light bulb, very important. Another thing that stood out was you basically said, I think it was every month you don't have an investment property, you're basically losing, I think it was 2,800 or something dollars per month in capital growth in your. And I just thought, geez, that's a lot. It takes me a bit to earn that using my my time. So gosh, you could be doing it just in your sleep basically if you have the right investment. So that was a big one. So I thought, gosh, better get onto getting right investment in place. And then the other thing that really kind of stood out for me was the importance of having a good borrowing capacity, because that's key, basically. If you want to be able to use the bank's money to build your own wealth portfolio, basically, and you need borrowing capacity to do that. And of course, being self-employed, our focus was not on that. It was more on minimizing taxes, legitimately, but by keeping incomes low. And so the bank basically didn't really want to give us much money. So we needed to make a few changements and adjustments, quite a big one basically, to focus more on getting more income in. Yes, it means paying a little bit more tax, but it's well worth it in the long run. It's like an investment cost.
Yeah,
But
love that.
yeah,
How do
yeah,
you think you went with the with the mindset shift? Because if, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a small business owner, typically who's been raised to be like, don't pay taxes, you can control your taxes, and you
mm,
don't need borrowing capacity. And then
mm,
I flipped it around to say, well, hang on a sec, if we take, yes, paying taxes sucks. I absolutely do not like it, and I can teach
yeah,
you people how to pay no taxes legally, right, over time. But if we take a step back for a moment and realize that paying taxes in the short term, so we can compound somebody else's money, will actually long term make us richer.
yep,
So it's kind of like taking two steps back in the short term in order to go 5 to 10 steps forward in the longer term.
absolutely.
How did you how did you adjust to learning that?
Well, I mean, I guess it's about shifting your whole focus more to self empowerment as well, rather than like, um, yeah, earning more money and having to pay more tax. Yeah, it's a little bit of a drag having to pay the tax, but by the same token, paying the tax means that you're earning more income, and that's kind of, that's quite empowering. So, yeah, just sort of focusing more on that sovereignty mindset. Okay, this is just a means to an end, and I'm in charge here of, the way I play it, and this is going to be my strategy. So from now on. So yeah, it was not a
Good on you.
difficult adjustment, but it was just had to sort of take a minute to, I guess, reassess my values, or our values, and realize that this is the long game. It's not just about saving money on taxes in the short term.
Yeah. I'm totally with you, girl. And I mean, like, that group that we met each other in, like, I align to everything about, if anyone follows me, I'm like, I hate the system. My
Yeah,
tagline in my bio is helping people get rich cash flow to exit the matrix. I believe paying taxes is the matrix, but
yeah, yeah,
I think about this every day, that like it's kind of like a game where like you know that you're in this 3D matrix, as long as you're conscious that you're in it,
yeah.
you can outsmart them as long as
Yes,
you know it. And as
yes,
long as you work out the tax code in the short term, so in the long term, you can actually beat it. And then eventually, if you are a combination of a business owner and a property investor, you can actually legally not pay taxes moving forward for the rest of your life. Now, in
right.
saying that, if you're starting off in your 50s, it's much, much more difficult,
It
right?
is.
You don't have much time up your sleeve. And for most people, I say the easiest way to build wealth is just start when you're younger, because then you have
Early. Yeah, yeah,
compounding up your sleeve, which now is obviously things that you're passing on to the kids as well.
yeah.
Um, and you also had, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but you also had a property that.
I did. Yep. So we had, we were aware that we wanted to build up a bit of a retirement thing, portfolio, and we had unfortunately kind of got on to like the wrong strategy. So we bought a property. Um, it was up in Queensland. It was, the capital growth was okay, but it was a land build package, and so we invested in that. So it was a brand new home, and yes, we got, it was a decent rental in return, but it was very heavily negatively geared. Again, it was about, oh yeah, let's bring the incomes down, reduce the taxes, So
So you bought this house and
negative
land package
gearing.
before you found me, and that was again a strategy to reduce your taxes. So your
It
focus was tax.
was. It wasn't really. And yes, look, there was going to be capital growth, but unfortunately, where we came unstuck was that as soon as interest rates started just going up and up and up,
Yeah.
and your financial sort of ups and downs that you go through anyway, if you hit a little bit of a slump financially and the interest rates are going up, there was just no cash flow left to be able to meet the interest rate repayments, and so we ended up realizing like it was just killing us basically. It was so much interest that we had to pay. So yeah, part of the strategy to get on the right path was to unfortunately sell that property, which was a bit of a bummer, but it was a necessary thing to do. Just to also we'd bought it just in our personal names, which that's another sort of I guess sort of can of worms to open about just how to structure yourself, and of course much better to sort of protect your borrowing capacity and your liability, not to have it in your own name. So that was another thing that we'd done wrong, and so it was important to sell that and then start
Yeah,
again with all the
start
right
again.
things in place.
Yeah.
So
And it's kind of funny because heaps of people come to me all the time and be like, can't you just like buy a property? Like which I agree with, that anyone can just jump onto realestate.com and go buy a house tomorrow. Like that's
mm,
easy. But to build wealth and build a portfolio, especially for the average, Aussie like you and I, small self-employed person, like you've got to do something extra and you've got to think carefully about every single move you make is critical.
yeah,
And so to your point, for those who are watching, we've got four main categories that you basically need to tick in order to move ahead and keep building, that the existing property you had before you met me didn't tick. So you bought a
yeah,
house and land package,
yeah,
which was hugely negatively geared. Now, good thing is, the upside to you is that you had a bit of capital growth because you bought just before a bit of a peak in Brisbane. So it was Brisbane,
thankfully.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just outside. Oh, yeah, just outside of Brisbane, between
Yeah.
Brisbane and Ipswich. Yeah,
No, yeah, that's right.
yeah,
So you bought a little bit, you just got a bit of a capital growth, that was, I think, just pure luck, to be honest with you, just from an inflation perspective, because you
yeah,
bought just before the big inflation peak that
yeah.
everyone had. But the downsides to it was it wasn't going to have any more capital growth moving forward. So that's bucket number one.
No,
So it
no.
wasn't in a long-term sustainable suburb, because a lot of people think, oh, you just buy in a booming suburb. You can't just buy in that booming suburb just for the suburb, just to have growth for 1 year, right? You need to have consistent long-term growth over the 10 years. So yes, you need to have a boom, but then you
Yeah,
also need to have it consistent, or else you might as well go do mining towns, to be honest with
yeah,
you, which is
yeah, yeah,
very, very risky.
yeah,
Anyway, you didn't have that bucket. And then the next bucket is because, again, it was hugely negatively geared, as you mentioned. So it was going to be lack on cash flow, which means it's going to be stress that you couldn't move forward for the next one. The other biggest thing is you didn't have the third bucket we talk about, which is control, which is being able to add value to the property in some way,
exactly,
because it's
exactly.
brand new. It's brand new. There's no way you can add value to it, right? Well, it doesn't make sense
Mm-hmm.
to invest money in it to add value.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really locking yourself in there. So it's vital to have the um, the established properties to add value, because then you can do sweat equity, and sweat equity means you can go in there and manually renovate the property with your physical time. And now the other bonus that you've got is you've got Dino over here, and what is Dino? He's got some
He's a
sweat equity
builder. Yeah,
builder, right?
yeah,
So at
yeah.
any moment you can go to your property, and then maybe you get 2 weeks off of work, and then you can go in there and smash out a quick renovation,
Mm,
your line it, etc., which
yeah.
can obviously build your capital much quicker, which is what you and I are going to talk about when we jump off this call, about how do we plan for the next one. So we're going to get into that in a minute.
Wonderful. Yeah, so good.
And then the third bucket was, to your point, is buying it in the wrong entity for you guys
Yeah,
as business owners. You already have the option to reduce and control your taxes already. And so having the option of getting tax deductions from your 9 to 5 jobs isn't a huge impact to compare to how you can control your taxes already. And this is non-financial advice, I'm not a tax advisor either. But
yeah.
it's something that we talk about, is buying in entities such as trust and company structures for the right person if
Mm-hmm.
you have the trajectory to build wealth that you guys do. So that
Mm.
also helps build, help protect borrowing capacity in the long term as well.
Mm.
But
No,
anyway,
amazing. No, you as you're just demonstrating your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience. You just, yeah, you have it all, babe.
appreciate that. What do
So,
you think you, with us learning together and going through the process, what do you think was the thing that made you feel comfortable the most having me on your team?
uh, just your down to earthness and you just really knew your stuff. I just got that vibe from you, and um, yeah, I think so. Just that sort of intuition, and also the obvious knowledge that you have, because and just your generosity too, like you giving of your own time to educate people out there just because you're passionate about helping people get out of the matrix. I just think, yeah, someone like you, I can trust. I can put my trust in you
Yeah.
because you're a good human.
Thank you. You are so great to serve, and you guys have such a good story to share because there are so many
Mm,
people in your position that have the same conditioning around, small business owner, not paying taxes, um,
yeah.
buying properties for the depreciation perspective and just getting stuck in a loop and not being able to get out. And now that we'll be able to, let's talk about the property that the team purchased you,
Oh,
shall we?
yeah. Um,
So,
mm.
purchase price $365,000 in South Australia.
I know. What? Who gets a property for less than 400? My gosh. And just a little side on that, we also got sort of another 15,000 off that because when we did our inspection, there was some repairs that needed to be done that was quite sort of urgent. And so yeah, it was actually, yeah, it was 365 technically, but 350 really. But yeah,
350.
there's going to be a little bit of outlay just in repairs and maintenance.
Okay.
But
And then moving forward, what I'm going to be talking Kat through after this call
yeah,
is we're going to talk about what are the next steps to prepare for the next thing, for the next
yeah,
property. And then one of the most important things is number one, you always, it's all about two buckets. So number one, what's your borrowing capacity? So we're going to
yeah,
grab the rental income statement that you've now got from your tenant, pass it on to the broker, say, hey, broker, let's get an update. What's my borrowing capacity look like now? So that's
yeah,
number one, mixed
yeah.
with how you conducted your last tax return that's just would have completed a couple of months ago.
It
That's just
was, yeah, and much
great.
healthier than the previous one because our focus had been more on let's get some income, in our businesses.
Great.
So it's going to be a little healthier. Yeah,
Well
definitely.
done. Okay, good, good. This is
Yeah,
exciting news.
yeah.
The other thing as well, the other thing that we also need to look to do as well is consistently getting bank evaluations as well. So we can see what the value of is that property
Okay.
so that we can see when we can pull out equity.
Yeah.
So that'll be quite a thing that I would get into the habit of doing at minimum every 6 months,
Right.
getting bank evaluations and getting a minimum
Yeah.
of 3 bank files. And also
Oh,
doing the
right.
bank evaluation or doing the evaluation of the property yourself. I don't know if
Yeah.
I remember that. There was one of the
Of
videos.
our, oh, you mean of our PPR or of our
No, no, of the
just
investment property.
investment? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So just
Gotcha.
knowing how to evaluate it yourself, that's one
Yeah,
thing you can consistently do as an active investor
yeah,
so that you can see, okay, when am I going to have enough money to be able to pull it out? If I need 100 grand for the next deal, okay, how much equity have I got in this property now? Okay, I've got 50 grand, right? Maybe in a couple of months it might go up to 70 grand or $100,000. And
right.
so obviously with us
Yeah,
purchasing in a peak
gotcha.
area, then we can pull out that equity, go again.
Yeah.
So we get that cash. The other really important reason why is
Mm,
because we want to reduce the interest rate. So when you
yeah.
get bank evaluations and you say to the bank and you're proving to the bank, hey, look, it's going up, right? And the bank's like, oh, yeah, we're agreeing it's going up in value. Great. When they do that, they typically, because the value of the property's gone up, it means your LVR is reducing, right? So it means
Mm-hmm.
the debt to the loan to value ratio is reducing. So you're not as risky in their eyes, which means
Yes.
they typically then are willing to give you lower interest rates.
Wonderful.
Now, that's critical because when we're
Yes.
buying inside trusts as well, is trusts typically have a slightly higher interest rate to begin
Yeah.
with. in the short term, but as LVRs come down, we can typically get lower interest rates as well. So that's going to be critical to help improving the cash flow. So these are all little things that you definitely should be focusing on in the next property.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah. No, that's amazing. It's just been so reassuring, having you kind of holding our hand through this process because, yeah, we sort of went in a little bit blind previously. And as you say, we're just kind of relying on the capital growth and sort of thinking, oh, is that going to be enough? But you just have so much in-depth knowledge of all these little factors and just the way to tweak it and get the most out of it. It's very reassuring having you with us on this journey. So
You're
thank you
welcome.
again. Thank you
Thank you
again.
so much. I'm just
Yeah.
excited to watch you guys build up your equity and to
Mm.
use that to pay down the home. Is that what one of the goals are, you reckon? Pay down the home
Yes.
sale?
Yeah. So we're quite comfortable in our home. We really love the area that we live in. So yeah, paying because we still do have a mortgage, unfortunately, just the way it's sort of been for us with the ups and downs and a few poor investment choices over the decades. So yeah, paying that out would be great, and yeah, just then accruing a bit of a retirement fund as well so that we're not just reliant on the pension. If that's sort of not a very exciting prospect, really, to just have to
No.
rely on the pension for your retirement. So, yeah, even though it's obviously a good thing to have that as for people that, those of us that need it. But, the whole thing about sovereignty is being self-sufficient and looking after yourself and being able to take care of your own needs and wants. Yeah, so
So exciting. I'm so
I
happy for you.
know.
And
Yeah.
this property just for the nerdy ones who's watching, so this property is going to do, just in terms of capital growth,
Mm,
I like to look at it as 5-year windows because property generally has a good growth cycle in the booming areas that we buy in. Usually has a good sort of boom that lasts for about 5 years and then it has consistent, steady growth every year after that.
yep.
The first 5 years of a only $365,000 property, mind you, very cheap
Yeah.
property, you're going to make $185,000 in your sleep.
Well,
At worst case scenario, it's actually likely
yeah,
that's us being like
that's
extremely
conservative.
conservative.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. Isn't that amazing? I mean, there's a lot of hours to try and make that sort of money with your time. A lot
Yeah.
of hours involved. So doing it in your sleep, yeah, how much better is that? So
So
good.
much better. Well, I
So
mean,
good.
that's 50% of the average wage. There's about 37 It's about $37,000 per year that you just
Yeah,
make in
yeah.
your sleep, worst case
I know.
scenario.
Yeah.
And the average wage in Australia is about 90 something thousand dollars a year, 96,000 I think it is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that means you're nearly making, 40, 50% of the average wage whilst you sleep. And it's like, if you can just work out that's just one property. If you can just
That's
work
right.
out how to get
Yeah.
2 or 3 more of them up your sleeve, like
Yeah.
that is just fucking life changing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And that's the plan. Just to accrue a couple more. And probably. I mean, we'll see what happens over the next couple of years. Economically and just with our own situations. But yeah, at the very least, we could always just sell them off at the very end if we need to and use that as our retirement fund because we've got our place or we could downsize, we could sell our PPR and, at least it gives us options and
Options. Yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what? A lot of people come to me and they're always like, not always, most people come to me
Mm.
saying, I need to have this plan. I need it to be in concrete, X, Y, and Z. Like, I need to have this vision. And then you've got other people who just like completely buy property blindly, zero plans, etc. It's just about finding the balance in the middle.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that balance is that just understanding that each property you buy, it's just going to give you more options than what you had yesterday. That's
Exactly.
all it really is about. Some
Yeah.
people need the vision and the planning to know exactly what their numbers are going to be like in 10 to 15 years from now. But for
Mm.
some people, it's just about just buy what we can now, buy it in the right entities so we can have
Yeah.
flexibility, so
Yeah.
that later on, in 10 years from now or in 5 years, we can start planning, do we want to sell down? Are these
Yeah.
areas going to have more growth? How do we send this money to super funds or company structures or
Yeah.
whatever we need to do to reduce taxes?
Yeah.
It gives your team time to plan and you time to plan and educate yourself whilst you're still compounding somebody else's money. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Incredible. Yeah.
so good.
So
All right, girl.
yeah,
Thank you for jumping on.
my
Is there
pleasure.
anything you'd like to say to anyone else in their 50s, starting off in the same position as you? What advice would you give them?
I would say it's never too late, actually, because I mean we're proof of that. I mean, obviously, as you mentioned earlier, the earlier you start in life, the better it's going to be. So don't hesitate, anybody out there who's contemplating this, no matter what age you're at. And yeah, younger the better. But at our age, it's still not too late. So you can still make some meaningful change to your wealth and your retirement plans, basically. So
Oh,
reach
thank
out to
you.
Olivia. Get on board, babes.
We're on board, babes. There we go. Meaningful retirement. I love it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you, Liv.